all across the country, national nights out are held the first Tuesday in August every year. And for the last 15 to 20 years here in Columbus, Columbus police officers have teamed up with different neighborhoods to host these all over the city. I've gone to many of them all around the city, growing up and even as an adult. I absolutely love them. But this year, the reason why I don't want to use the word perplexed, because I'm not perplexed about it at all. But the reason why I find it kind of interesting in how I'm viewing and how I feel about National Night Out being canceled is different. And the reason why I say it's different, everyone, is because this year we are faced with the interesting introspect of having to face the reality of how police officers, I'm not talking about around the country, but how police officers here in Columbus, Ohio, are treating black and brown people. I think I need to repeat that again. This year, we are faced with a situation that we've been faced with before, but it's like in our face, present day, present time, that the night that the National Night Out events are typically taking place at this hour from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., that National Nights Out here in Columbus, Ohio have been canceled, but there has never been a time more so than now when we've been forced to look at and forced to reckon with how Columbus police officers are treating black and brown people. I've looked at countless of videos that were submitted to us here over the last couple of weeks, and today there were 3 submitted to us where police officers here in Columbus, Ohio, with the Columbus Police Department, decided to treat black folks. And as I was looking at those videos, I was enraged. And then as that emotion came upon me, the rage and the anger and the upsetness, what then I began to focus on, and what I began to think about and to look at, and what I then realized was the date and the day of the month it was, the first Tuesday in the month of August. And that being very key, and as I thought about that, and as I decided to channel that rage into something else, I decided to do some research and to do some digging, and I realized that nobody had been talking about National Nights Out, and usually in the week or last week or 2 of July, really the last 3 weeks of July, it is really a big push for National Nights Out in the neighborhood, saying, be at your local National Nights Out. You're hearing about it on the radio, you're hearing about it on TV, and this year I heard nothing. But then today I go out there looking, I go out there doing research, and then I see ABC6 News doing a story focusing on how COVID-19 canceled, or did not just cancel, but postponed National Night Out until the fall, because you really shouldn't be gathering in groups. But not just that. I saw a lady on there talking about that we need National Nights Out more than ever right now because of the string of violence going on in our city. And then my mind went to work as I was listening to that lady on the West Side talk about how for the last 15 years she's hosted in front of her house on her block the city's largest National Night Out party. And so as I began to think about that, and as my mind was working and I'm trying to figure all of this out and figure out where my thoughts are, I begin to think, and I said, Devontae, this may be a blessing in disguise. While this lady is on TV upset that the event is canceled, she's only upset because she hosts the biggest every year, so they tell us. And I know these national nights out are supposed to be bridging the divide and bringing the community together with police officers and community members all across the city, really all across the nation. But really, are they? Now, I've said this before, and I will continue to repeat this. I'm not against police officers at all. And when protesters are down there saying, fuck 12 and all that, I'm not against them or anything like that. But what I am against is how they decide to treat black and brown brothers and sisters. And how they not only decide to treat, how they become and feel like they're God in a sense, and how they can give a person life and how they could take it away, and they don't have that right. That's what I am against. And so with these national nights out being postponed until possibly later this year in the fall, I'm over here ecstatic. I'm happy about it. You may be blaming it on COVID, but I am happy because now, with them being postponed, what should have happened, viewers and listeners, what should have happened, family, was everything should have moved on to a digital platform, onto Zoom or something, and we should have begun to have a conversation with police officers and with the CPD about why do certain officers think it's all right to treat black and brown people the way that they treat them. That's what should have happened. That didn't happen. They decided to postpone it because they think with these type of events, you have to have a big party. But no, I thought the ideal of the event was to bring the Columbus Police Department and Columbus police officers here in Ohio closer together with the community. But yet the mayor and the police chief, they want to get on TV every time shootings and violence spark off, just in the case of what happened last night, asking for the community's help. Now, some of you might say, well, they're doing the best that they can. They're doing everything within their power. Not just only are they doing everything within their power, but they can only do so much. What more do you want from them? The mayor has pushed through City Hall and through City Council a working group, and they have even got it voted on and approved to be on the ballot in November. The issue of Columbus having a civilian review board over the Columbus Police Department. They're negotiating right now the FOP's contract and X, Y, and Z and da. What more do you expect them to do? Well, you know what? I expect them to do a lot more than what they are doing. But some of you may say, Devontae, you're being too hard. You aren't thinking rational about it. What would you do if you were in the position of Andy Ginther? Well, number one, what I would it's not what I would do if I was in Andy Ginther's position. More so, the question is, how would I respond? And I'm telling you how I would have responded given these certain circumstances. Is I would have tried to move all of the neighborhood national nights out onto a digital platform so we can have the conversation and get beyond this. Yes, there's a lot of shootings happening. Can we depend on the police to end them? No. Can we just depend on the community? No, but we do need the two to come together. We do need the police and the community to work together, but how can the community trust in a police department that's killing them, not just killing them, but bringing so much injustice against them. You know what? Every time I'm pulled over by the police, my heart starts pounding so much, so and so hard, so that it feels like I'm not only having a heart attack, but that my heart is on the outside of my body. Now, it doesn't feel that way because I'm scared in the sense of being scared. No, my body feels that way, and my heart is pumping at that rate of speed that it's pumping at because I, as a black person, I'm afraid that I might get shot and killed because of how the officers are approaching the car when they approach the car. They're approaching the scene when they pull me over with their hand on their hip, on their waist belt, on their gun. Now, sure, I've done dozens of ride-alongs while in college with the police and while here in the city, and sure, there is a level of unknown about what you are entering into when you're walking up to a car, but you need to understand how you're pulling over a black person, how a black person is going to perceive you being pulled over. But we already know all of that, so why am I hashing this out? I don't know why I'm having to hash this out, but I could tell you that bullets, yes, bullets, these things that have no eyes, they have no ears, they can't see where they're going, they don't know where they're going, ended up and left several people wounded last night because there were a lot of shootings last night, and the youngest person was 13 years old. Another case, over 100 bullets were left in a lady's house. Thank God that the lady wasn't injured. She was in the home when somebody put over 100 bullets in her house last night. A 100 bullets in your home, where you're supposed to feel safe at. But now you're saying, but now what I can't put together and what I'm having a hard time grappling with is the notion and the understanding of that some people think that we still should have had National Night Out. Now, I'm not blaming the police for this rash of violence. I'm not blaming black folks either, even though it is our people shooting up our people. Now, and I know that's not the popular thing to say, but blacks are shooting up blacks right now. I know some of you will probably argue and will probably say, hey, Devontae, white people are doing it too. Yeah, that's true, but right now, I'm talking to my black folks right now. I'm talking to Black Columbus. So I'm going to keep it 100 with you, Black Columbus. White people aren't shooting up our neighborhoods. Black folks are. Now, if I'm really being even more transparent, in North Columbus last night, police officers, they took a couple rounds while securing a scene of a shooting that happened. They took some rounds themselves, but they didn't fire back. So do I have to give them their props for not firing back? Yes, I do, because in all regard, I don't know what the situation was like, but they should have fired back to not only protect themselves, but everybody else around. I don't know what made them not fire back, but they needed to respond to something. Now, I am just keeping it 100 with you all. But for the people out there that thinks National Night Out should have still happened, and it shouldn't have been postponed, I think you're wrong. You're wrong. To me, it should be canceled until we learn as a community to deal with the bigger issues. I took a phone call earlier today, and not even this conversation I've actually been having with a lot of people that I come into encounter with. I had this conversation yesterday that, yes, it's good that we are down there protesting. Every day there's protesters down there, whether it's a big group or a small group in downtown Columbus. But the question now and becomes what Dr. King wrote about in this book right here. Where do we go from here? If you don't know what this book is, where do we go from here? Chaos or Community? This is Dr. King's worst-selling book that he wrote right before he was killed, before he was murdered in 1967. But while this was his worst-selling book, this was his best piece of work. And in this book, Dr. King talks about, and where do we go from here, Chaos or Community, about 4 organizations that Black America or the Black community cannot live without. And one of those 4 organizations that he says we cannot live without is Black media. And not just Black media, Black-owned media. The second thing is Black churches. Third thing, Black businesses. And the fourth thing, Black Greek life. So Black frats and sororities, the Divine Nine. And I come to tell you, if we get all 4 of those here in Columbus together, working together, locking arms, we could do a lot more. But right now, the problem with in Columbus is that we got all this inner fighting going on among different organizations. There's fighting going on with Black churches about this denomination is better than that denomination. This denomination is more holier than that denomination. When last time I read my Bible, the Bible didn't talk about denominations. Oh, Devontae, you aren't supposed to be talking about the church. You aren't supposed to be speaking truth to the church. But that's what this is. I'm always going to keep it 100 with you. And then there's inner working fighting going on, even among all of these different Black organizations. And then furthermore, with Black businesses, I can't be too upset at Black business owners because the moment Brother George Floyd got lynched, because it was a lynching, no mistake about it. The moment that officer in Minneapolis decided to lynch Brother Floyd, the moment that officer decided to put that many bullets into Sister Breonna Taylor, America saw this awakening and great support for Black businesses. But there are Black business owners that, because they saw so great of surgence of business than they ever have before, they didn't know what to do because they weren't trained for it. And I think that's the problem with Black America, but Black Columbus more specifically. I'm going to talk to Black Columbus because, after all, this is a local-owned Black independent media company, Black independent news network. So I'm talking to all of my Black business owners right now in Columbus. You didn't do wrong. 90% of you didn't do wrong. You weren't trying to take folks' money and then run. You didn't know what you didn't know. And you had so much volume increase in business that you didn't have time to put the appropriate measures in place. And because of COVID, you didn't have time to do the right hiring and things like that. You didn't know what you didn't know. So I can't be too upset with you all for that. And you know what? If I'm being totally transparent, I had to work and sit down and really think about that and talk it out with a few people about that particular subject. And even just yesterday, I was having that conversation with someone in my office, and they were saying, Devontae, you may be thinking a little too harsh. And I said, all right, let's talk about it. And we talked about it, and my thinking was changed even more, is that in Black America and Black Columbus, we just don't have the appropriate resources to teach us what we need to do when we start a business, to teach us that, oh, you should probably register with the Secretary of State to get an LLC. And after you register your business with the Secretary of State as an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp, you should go to the IRS and get an EIN number so you aren't using your social number. Then you should go to the appropriate bank and set up business bank accounts. And if you have employees, you should set up a payroll account and things like that. You see, you just don't know what you don't know. And our people, a lot of them, they don't know the process. And so when you don't have particular measures in process, you just don't know. Now, another thing that Dr. King talked about in this book, so where do we go from here, KLSR community? We've talked about the Black churches, we've talked about Black businesses, but now we need the Black Divine Nine to step up and to say, hey, we're going to lock arms with you, and we are going to do some voter registration drives. Sure, it may not be the popular thing to do right now because of COVID, but we're going to mask up. We're going to put on gloves and whatever we need to do to protect our personal selves. And we're going to go out there and we are going to go to work. We're going to go to work and we're going to knock on some doors and we're going to make sure folks are registered to vote. And as we are making sure they're registered to vote, what we're going to do next, what we're going to do after that is we're going to make sure they are getting their mail-in ballots if they're going to go with the mail-in ballot measures and they are voting in an appropriate time frame so their ballot gets into the post office. And then not only does it get into the post office, but to make sure that it gets to the Board of Elections. But if they don't trust that, we're going to make sure they seal their ballot tightly and however many envelopes they need to. And we are going to make it possible to come back by their house and we'll drop it off up on Morse Road ourselves and place it in that box to make sure their vote is counted. Brothers and sisters, this is not the election to sit home and cry and pout and complain. I don't care if you don't vote for whoever the next president of the United States is, whoever the next senator or congressman or person is. I don't care if you don't vote for any national issues. As important as those are to me, I don't care. I only care about if you vote for one issue. And that is for this Police Civilian Review Board. And I don't know how many of you know this, but we are now 89 days, if we include today, away from the election day in November. 89. 89 days. I want you to think about that.
If you're tired of mainstream media outlets selecting news stories and events that don't appeal to Black America, then become a member of the Unbossed Network today, where we are the voice of Black America and providing coverage of events and news stories that you won't hear anywhere else. Visit theunbossednetwork.com to become a member today.